All right, should we dive in? I think we got some hungry folks on here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
We have a lot to cover. I'm terrible with slides. There we go. We're all caught up.
Oh, Benjamin, yes, let me answer that. This is being recorded. It's only going to be for Plus members. If somehow you're on here and you are not a Plus member, you can head over to appsumo.com/plus, sign up, and you'll get access to this. It'll be posted in the sauce. Yeah, that's where you can get the recording. I am Chris Shelsey. I'll be moderating this. I'm the head of growth at AppSumo. Been here for about 6 years, and actually did a interview with Chanti way back in 2020, right around when COVID was kicking off. We did one of these, and it was awesome. Everybody loved it, so I know you guys are in for a real treat today. That is all you need to know about me, and we can keep going. And we also have Katie, who is on here as well. You can see Katie Weeks. She'll be in the chat. She's going to be doing the tech side of this. She's going to be helping to moderate, answer any question. I guess I'll be doing the moderating, but she'll be doing the tech side of this. She's also in the sauce a lot, running that, helping on all things Plus. She's a killer. Say hi to Katie in the comments. And she's the main point of contact if you got any questions about Plus or about the sauce, all of that. She's our subscriptions and community manager at AppSumo.
All right, cool. And
I'm going to go screen off, and this is all you.
There we go. All right. Well, I'm so excited to be here, and yeah, really want this to be helpful for whoever is in the room, has questions around quizzes. So please feel free, drop them in the Q&A. We'll try and monitor the chat. Zoom has this weird thing where often the setting in the chat goes panelists and hosts only. So make sure you set that to everyone. And I challenge you to make a friend in the Zoom room today. So if you don't know me, I am Chanti, and I've been immersed in the world of online quizzes kind of since before they were cool. My team and I have created multiple quizzes that have gone, let's say, viral, have attracted hundreds of thousands of subscribers for some pretty kind of big names in the online space. So you can trust that I know what I'm talking about. And I've also helped thousands of online business owners of all industries, of all sizes, to build their audience using quizzes. And to be honest, you don't need hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Most of the time, just having a meaningful and consistent way of building your email list, creating connection, learning about your audience, and being able to segment and know who's coming into your world is powerful. So quality over quantity, that's what I'm all about. And yeah, I'm excited to dig in. We have a lot to cover. Here is our map for today. So first, we're going to talk about, why. Why would you want to create a quiz? What's the point? It's a lot of work, to be totally honest. There are a lot of steps, and it's probably a bit more complex than, potentially other lead magnets that you've played around with. So I think getting really clear on your why is critical. We're going to talk about, like quiz funnels, right? So not just the quiz, but how do you create a quiz that brings someone into your world, gets them on your email list, and then you're emailing them and ideally going from subscriber to sale. We'll talk all about that. We'll talk about why most funnels, it don't necessarily work that way. They certainly don't always work how they're promised, right? There's often a lot of leaky spots. So how can we fix that a little bit? And yeah, we'll get into the quiz specific stuff of coming up with your positioning strategy, your big idea, creating your results, writing really good and effective questions, and everything that comes after that. Sound good? Okay, we've got some questions already submitted, but as we're going through, feel free to ask questions. We will have time for Q&A at the end. And if you can use the Q&A function in lieu of the chat function for your questions, that will just help us stay a little bit more organized, because, Zoom chat can be a little chaotic sometimes. So I wanted to just share sort of what's possible? What can this like one thing, one small change in your current setup actually do for you? Now, a really common stat that you may have heard, it's thrown around a lot in the online marketing lead generation world, is that quizzes are often 10 times more effective than other types of lead magnets. Now, 10 times, that sounds like such a generic stat. And it doesn't always play out that way, but I have consistently seen with my students, with my clients, that quizzes are often at least 10 times more effective than their other lead magnets for capturing website traffic and capturing people's attention and keeping it. So let's do just a little math exercise just to get you in the groove of like, oh, this is what a quiz could do for me. That's cool. Let's say that your current lead magnets are growing your list by 10 people per day. So I want to be conservative. Instead of 10xing that, let's just 5x it. So let's 5 times 10 without doing anything differently. A quiz could help you attract 50 people a day. So if you were, say, successfully selling a $1,000 product or offer or service to even just 1% of those people, you'd go from making $3K a month to $15K a month. Now, of course, this example is just an example, and you're probably like, it's not that simple, and I get that. But I just want to illustrate how big of a difference one thing can truly make. So this is by no means a promise, but by taking some conservative averages, applying them to your business, you can get a sense of what kind of difference a quiz funnel could make for you. And then you throw in some proven to perform, templates and frameworks that we're going to cover today, and you get even more magic. So sharing this to kick us off so that you can feel into how that would help you. And if you're now in that dream state of, oh, could it work that way? What would that mean for me? Feel free to share in the chat. And while that's happening, let's talk about why. Why quizzes? Some of you here are already using quizzes, and that's fabulous. And hopefully what I share will help you make them even better. But if you're here and you're kind of just in that curiosity phase where you're not really sure, well, why would I create a quiz instead of whatever else I've got going on? Let's talk about it. So there are a few key reasons. First and foremost is simply that quizzes have this unique thing about them that allows you to connect to the human on the other side, to speak to who they are in the context of whatever you help them with, to give them a personalized solution, to maybe even speak to their personality. And that's not always how quizzes work in the wild. Maybe you're like, no, I've got a quiz that tells you your Facebook ads knowledge score, and that works too. But if you can pull in some of that psychology, that is really powerful, because everyone's favorite topic is themselves, whether they want to admit it or not. The second benefit here is segmentation. So we know we've got some pretty savvy marketers in the room and many of you very likely know how important segmentation is in today's digital landscape. Segmentation is just a fancy way of saying, who's who on your email list, and you can then communicate more effectively because of that knowledge and insight. So an example here would be if you're a yoga teacher and you have online classes, and maybe you have classes for beginners and classes for super advanced yogis who can put their leg behind their head. Those are two very different audiences, right? You serve both. It's so useful to you to know who's in which audience. I would love to know if anyone here is already using segmentation strategies, and if so, what are you doing? Because I think often online businesses know this is important. They do it, but they do it like in their emails. So like, click here if you're in this category. And then you can only segment and capture so many people, the people who opened and saw and clicked on that link in your email. Whereas with quizzes, you're segmenting everyone who comes through the quiz and capturing really useful information about them so that you can offer personalized experiences behind the scenes, which 75% of consumers prefer to purchase from businesses that do that. It's kind of a big deal. All right, interactivity. Interactive content outperforms static content. No surprise there. We know that people's attention spans are ever shortening. And so if the process is engaging and interactive, you can keep attention longer. Some really interesting stats on this. A global average for time on page is 54 seconds. Average on quizzes is 3 minutes and 27 seconds. So that's a huge difference, right? Cost per lead, if you are running paid traffic, particularly Facebook and Instagram ads, quizzes are often a very cost-effective way of running lead generation ads. And then zero and first-party data. So learning more about your audience with their consent. That is what quizzes are all about. And those to me are really like the key benefits that create a distinction between creating a quiz to build your email list versus like creating a free guide or a webinar or any of the hundreds of things you could do alternatively. So I'd love to know if any of these are new to you, if you already knew all this stuff. I would love to get a gauge on sort of where everyone's knowledge is so that I can either like go deeper or pull back. Tell me in the chat. Barca says new. John, stoked on cost per lead. Cool. Patrick knows some, got some familiar, some new. Okay, perfect. Is good to know. Thank you. So I have a worksheet for you guys if you're interested in kind of jamming and taking notes as we go and jotting down ideas. You can go to this link, chantizak.com/workit. And this is just a Google Doc that you can copy and add to your drive, and or you can print it off and take notes that way. I'm not going to bring it up a ton throughout the presentation, but you have this. You can, after this training, go away and work through it. But yes, we can put the link. Oh, there's the Google Doc version of the link too. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about why. Why would you want to create a quiz? I think this is often missing from a lot of endeavors we as business owners embark upon. We think like, oh, this is a strategy that works, cool, I'll run with it. And then we actually get into doing the thing and we're like, whoa, this is hard. Why am I doing this? What's the point? I'm so lost. Hopefully what I share with you will mitigate those thoughts and feelings coming up. But I think the most important factor that can really help with avoiding getting stuck halfway through creating your quiz is to be clear on why you're doing it. So there's a little spot for this in the worksheet. If you do move forward and create a quiz, I really, really encourage you to sit with this question and get clear on like, well, what would 5 times more leads make possible, or 10 times more new leads in a month? What would that mean for me, for my family, for my legacy, for my why? Get clear on that before you do anything else. Now, I think another thing to get clear on, this isn't like super tactical action steps just yet, so bear with me if that's what you're here for. But I want to just talk a little bit about why most traditional funnels don't necessarily work as promised. Like, there's just so much hype in the online marketing industry around funnels in general. It's like, do the thing and money will come out the other side. And it just often doesn't work that way. So if you're here and you're like, oh girl, do I know it? Let me know. Because I think so many of us have been there. Like, you put so much effort into something, you think it works in this super simple, streamlined, simplified way, and it turns out to be a little bit more complicated than that, right? So this image on the left, that's your traditional funnel. And the image on the right, I'm not going to like go super in depth into what this framework represents, but if it were animated, all those circles would be sort of flowing into each other, and the sun and the seeds and the soil and the water, they each represent different aspects of your business. One is you, the visionary, the idea person, the leader. Your seeds are your leads. Your soil is the terrain that makes transformation possible. Water is the element of change that is everywhere and always occurring in the marketplace. And boy, are we feeling it right now. And seasons are simply the seasons of your life, of your business, where like there's ups and downs, right? So all of those together, I think, are important to pull in when you go to create a funnel. And like I said, I'm not going to spend that much time on this because this is a deep conversation in its own right. But if you're here and you're like, I've tried the whole funnel thing and it hasn't worked for me, and I hear that a lot, people hire me to fix their funnels. So I'm probably, intimately closer to this than many people who are here, but there's a lot going on in a funnel, and a quiz funnel is no different. So let's get into that. And I'm going to teach you 6 steps to creating an effective quiz funnel. And I think just to contrast quiz funnels to traditional funnels in general, there is this unique capacity for you to use your quiz to learn more about your audience. And that benefit alone can really create a distinction between a quiz funnel and a regular funnel. Because when you know more about your audience, when you understand what they're experiencing and how to speak to that, that changes everything. So first action step here is to get clear on your quizzion, I call it, but really this is just your vision for your quiz. What do you want it to do for you? So I would love to know which of these categories you are in. If you want to sell more physical products with a quiz, you're in e-commerce. B, you want to attract ideal clients or customers for something like a course or a membership or a program or a specific service. Or C, you just want to build your audience overall and attract people who'd be a fit for maybe multiple of your offers. Or maybe you want to quiz as more of like a content piece. So seeing lots of B's, few C's. Cool. I think there were some e-commerce folks who submitted questions in advance. Tracy's A and B. Awesome. Yeah, super helpful for me to know where you're at and what your goals are. So I happen to have a very meta quiz of my own that helps you determine which type of quiz you should create for your business. And this is the TLDR version of it. So if your goal is to, yes, segmenting you right now. If your goal is to sell more products and you're in e-commerce, then you should very likely create an e-commerce quiz. That one's pretty simple. If you want to attract a very specific person who's very well poised to benefit from a specific offer that you're selling, and you want to use a quiz as like a top of funnel asset to bring in the right people, and then potentially you lead them to like some sort of next step, like a webinar or a challenge, something like that for any like course creators in the room. Then you might want to create a launch quiz. And then a signature quiz is, there are similarities between this and a launch quiz, but the big difference is this is meant to be attractive to your entire audience. So maybe you have multiple offers and a diverse audience, but if you can come up with a hook, a topic that is attractive to all of those people, that's where you're going to look at creating a signature quiz. And this is designed for like long-term evergreen use. It sort of acts as like a hub in your business that everyone goes through. They're then segmented. And then from there, you can lead them to the correct pathways or funnels that will serve them best based on where they're at when they come into your world. So your signature quiz can also function to spread the word and create visibility around what you want to be known for. Example of this would be like the love languages quiz. Everyone's taken that, right? If you haven't, come on, go check it out. But that quiz is a great example of a signature quiz. Like there's a book, this is a whole brand, millions of people have taken it. If there's something that you really want to position yourself as the authority and the expert on, and you want to be known for it, this is your signature framework. Signature quiz is often a really good way to make that known. So out of all these options, which one are you thinking is the one? Launch. Signature, cool, yeah. It's often really good to start with a launch quiz and then build a signature quiz. Signature quizzes are like a bit of a bigger beast often. Cool, so lots of launch and signature. Tracy, e-com and launch. Sweet. So when you're clear on that, you can then move forward and understand your goal for your quiz. And that is huge. From there, you are going to develop your positioning strategy. So what does that mean? I would say that positioning is the 20% of your quiz that will get you 80% of your results. It is the hook that you use to get people to take the quiz. And thus, it's pretty darn important, right? So let's talk about how to come up with that, because that's often what people are missing, is that big idea, that hook, the strong positioning strategy. And it honestly takes sometimes a lot more time than a lot of people want to dedicate to it, and a lot more research. So that's normal. If you are like in the trenches and you want to create a quiz, but you have no idea what that hook should be, here are a few prompts that can help you spark that big idea. So one thing I want you to note is that you're not trying to appeal to everyone. You're trying to appeal to the person who, based on where they're at in their journey right now, you can help and serve. So these are 3 positioning prompts that can really help. The first one is, what questions are you asked over and over and over again? Any business owners in the room who like automatically have a list of questions streaming into your brain that you've answered hundreds of times? Anybody? What idea, framework, process, or philosophy do you want to be known for? And lastly, what does your ideal client or customer crave more than anything? How do I earn my first $1,000 online? You get asked that question all the time, Chris. Yeah. So like, honestly, there's an easy quiz topic right there. Is like a quiz on, take this quiz to learn your personal path to earning your first $1,000 online. Like, it doesn't have to, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to come up with the most clever, witty, personality-driven idea on the planet. It just has to speak to your audience and activate their curiosity, and then, yeah, answer the big questions that they have. So John, they're asking, what should I spend my marketing time and money on? That's a quiz too. There you go. It's like, take this quiz to get clear on where you should put your time and money based on where you're at in your business and where you want to go. Like, it can be so simple. So let's take a look at some examples. This is like an example collage, so bear with me. So this first example, should you change careers and become a life coach? This is a quiz from Lumia Life Coaching. They offer life coaching certifications. And I worked with them a while back, and I always ask my clients, well, what are the questions you get asked all the time? And for them, it was like, should I switch careers and become a life coach? And people like are on calls with them asking this question every single day. Should I really do this? Do I have what it takes? Does this make sense? Is this a viable option? And there's a lot of uncertainty there. So this was such an easy angle to come up with. And last I checked, this quiz was taken like 80,000 times, and they were converting people who had just taken the quiz, hadn't even gotten on a call, and they were converting those people into students in their certification program, which is kind of amazing. Like, a life coaching certification, especially with a reputable company like this one, is not cheap. It's a big decision for people, and they were getting the answers and the insights that they needed to make that decision through the quiz. So I love this example because it is just so clear. It's not like the cleverest ever, but it's so clear. And ads have very similar wording. Yeah. Another example here, and this is for e-commerce, is the superpower angle. And this is a really common quiz theme, because who doesn't want to know their superpower in any given category? But so this is from Newtopia, and that's the company behind this quiz funnel. This is a perfect positioning strategy for them, because they market their nootropics as the real life limitless pills. They're like, these will give you superpowers. And the people who are taking this quiz want to know, like, how can I achieve this limitless state that I know is possible? And so they give them the answer, and then they give you like a whole customized stack recommendation, and they paint the picture of the before and after and how you're going to feel with these amazing products. And it's kind of irresistible if you are in the market for that kind of solution. So that's that, like, tapping into your ideal client or customer's desire. That's an example of that. One of my students, Elke, has this 8 healing archetypes quiz that has just exploded her business She's booked out for months in advance. She has people traveling 6 hours to work with her. And this archetype angle is something that she wants to be known for. It's the framework that she has spent years studying, that she works with her clients around. If she were going to write a book, it would be on the healing archetypes. She's now built this really incredible email list. She's booked out for one-on-one. So she's gone on to create a course, and it's on the 8 healing archetypes. So like there's total alignment there that this is what she wants to be known for. This is what she's all about and what she teaches. And it just so happens to also be a perfect angle for a quiz. Another example of just like really simple answers a question launch quiz is this quiz from Gabby Bernstein, What's Your Attachment Style? And this is part of her book funnel for her most recent book, Happy Days, which talked about attachment styles. So for the launch of that book, she's going on all the podcasts, she's getting all the speaking gigs, and she's talking about attachment theory. And the question that's coming up for people when she talks about that, what's my attachment style? Like, right? So she has the quiz that answers that question, creates connection at scale, and leads to her book and her course on the topic. This other example at the top here, this business growth type assessment, this is a quiz that I'm in the process of creating for my own business. And I just invented that. Growth type, like that's not a thing. I just invented it. So like, I also wanted to share that because you can come up with your own unique angle that no one knows what it is, right? People are like, what's a growth type? And I explain that in the description, further on the landing page, in the ad copy. And so if you are going to have in your topic some framework title or concept that people are not going to know what it is and they're not going to be familiar with it, then you do have to do a little bit more lifting in the description and the surrounding promotional copy for the quiz to explain, here's what this is, and here are the benefits. Yeah, find out your marketing muscle, TM, right? Throw a TM on there, you're set. Already. But you can do that. Like, you're allowed full permission to come up with your own IP. And so many of the most successful quizzes do just that. So I would love to know which of these angles you're like, that could work for me. There's definitely questions people ask me all the time. Or I want to spread the word on what I want my brand to be known for. Or C, do you want to really tap into the deepest desires of your ideal quiz takers? Okay, Terry says B, A, a C, a B. Cool, good mix. So yeah, once you play with these prompts and you have the worksheet, right? So if it's not coming to you right away, you're not sure, play with it a bit. Give yourself some space. Honestly, this is the part of the process that is often the most frustrating, the messiest. It feels the least productive because often you sit down to come up with a bunch of ideas and you're like, these are all shit. I don't know, throw it all away. I can't do this. And that happens all the time with people. So I really want to encourage you to just give yourself permission to have terrible ideas. It's okay. And sit down and put a few Pomodoros in and don't edit as you go. Just like ramble, play with those prompts, come up with as many ideas as you possibly can, and then put it away, walk away, come back the next day with fresh eyes, and then allow yourself to go into like editing mode where you can really look and see like, all right, which of these are actually decent? And then you can move on to the next step. But yeah, that it's a big part of the process. Once you are clear on what your big idea is, your positioning strategy, your hook, then you can move on to crafting your results. And I highly recommend you start with the results and not with your questions. This is a big mistake people often make, is they come up with their idea and then they sit down and they come up with all the questions. And then they go to write the results and they're like, wait, how do these results connect with the questions I wrote? This makes no sense. And that can be so frustrating. So start with the results. You will save yourself a lot of time if you do. And these are honestly the fun part to me, because the result is the reward for the quiz taker. It is the dopamine hit. It is the delivery mechanism for the personalized insights, the answers and solutions that they were seeking in the first place. So let's talk about how to make them awesome. I'm not sure what you mean by that question, Demetrius. Can you pop it into the Q&A and we can come back to it? So this is where we're at. There are, I would say, 3 rules, but really 3 keys to coming up with great results. The first one I already explained is really just in the creation process. Work on the results first, do them justice, and then go back to your questions. When you're clear on your results, your questions will be so much better. And often too, the results will be better, because there's a certain mindset as a creator when you're in like workflow mode, you're creating a quiz. Often people put so much energy into the questions that by the time they get to the results are like an afterthought. And the results are really the piece of the puzzle that your quiz taker, when they get that result, if it feels generous and valuable and like it's so much better than the majority of the other quizzes they've ever taken, that's a big deal. And that's what I want for you. So start with your results. 2 is lead with generosity. I am all about this. Go above and beyond. Share what is going to be truly significant and helpful to the person on the receiving end. Like, we are just in a time where we as online business owners have to go beyond platitudes and we have to get personal. So you have the benefit of the quiz that allows you to do so, because you can ask questions, lead people to the information and inspiration that's going to be truly helpful for them. And how you do that is with this mindset of generosity. The third thing here is to segment strategically. So start to think about what are the core distinctions your audience has. So like a few examples of this. Easy one is like that yoga example I gave you of like, maybe you help beginners and you help those who are super advanced. Perhaps you are like a textile course creator and you help people who want to learn how to sew, who want to learn how to crochet. Like, those could be the distinctions. Personality types could be the distinctions. Challenges could be the distinctions. Desires could be the distinctions. Like, you really want to know what are the core differences that my audience has, and then you can speak to those in your results. So beyond that, there are a few things specifically to include in your results, if you can. And like I said earlier, this personality point, it doesn't always pan out or make sense, but if you can include personality insights, this is really powerful. The most successful quizzes that I've seen and worked on and helped people with have some sort of personality angle. And you can do it in a lot of different ways. So I found this cool article and I grabbed a quote from this professor of psychology who was talking about why quizzes work so well. And I totally forgot to write his last name in my notes. So I just have Professor of Psychology Stephen, and probably lots of those. But this very smart person said that you could introspect and think about yourself. However, that has its limits. So when we take these self-assessments, they give us another mirror inward, and people are always seeking that. So quizzes share insight into, if you can share insight into someone's personality in relation to any aspect of their life or business or whatever you help them with, those perform the best. So let's look at a few examples. Sounds like Professor Chris. Yeah. Here are a few examples. What's your secret sauce? This is a quiz that I worked on with Jenna Kutcher years ago. And this is like a little side point. So bit of a tangent, but what I'm teaching you, and if you decide to create a quiz and you follow this framework and you give it your all and you lead with generosity, you can have a list building asset that will work for you for years. So what I want for you is not to create something that you like promote for a month and then forget about, and then it just like sits over in your drive somewhere, but to create something with real staying power. That's the goal. And I see this so often with people I work with, is that like following this process and framework of creating a quiz, and then the end result works for years. So like Jenna's quiz has had hundreds of thousands of people go through it, and it's still just right on her website. Secret sauce though, like what does that have to do with personality, right? It's just a sort of fun way of telling people, how can you stand out? How can you use who you are to have a successful business, right? So it's personality in context and relation to their business. This creative types quiz, this was really big, went totally viral. Adobe made this, and it's really simple, right? Discover your creative personality. It's quite broad, but people loved it. And they did this cool thing where they get you to sort of share the quiz around so you can find out who your ideal creative companion or partner is based on your type and what types you work best with. And it was really fun. So that's an example of, again, it's personality, right? But in context with creativity. And then this other example, this plant personality quiz, this is an e-commerce quiz. This is Traditional Medicinals has this on their website. And it's just kind of fun. It tells you your plant personality, and then it gives you some recommendations around like different teas and herbs and things that you might love. So lots of different ways to utilize personality. Another factor you want to make sure of with your quiz is that it's shareable. And the key to shareability is shining a positive light on your quiz taker. So there are a lot of like diagnostic style quizzes out there, or a lot of negatively framed quizzes. And this is just a very common strategy with a lot of different types of content, because humans are motivated by pain. We want to solve our problems. Problems capture our attention. There's a reason that in copywriting, the go-to formula is problem, agitation, solution, right? Problems will capture attention. But people don't want to share their problems with their followers all over social media necessarily. Okay, some people do for sure, but most people want to share things that present them in a positive light. So if you want to capture the virality potential of a quiz, because it is there's this stat that the average quiz is shared 1,900 times. And I think this is like really pulling in BuzzFeed and like New York Times and like content style quizzes, right? Not necessarily lead generation quizzes. There are some differences there, but they are still this highly shareable form of content. And so if you can, in your results, lift your quiz taker up, make them feel good about themselves, present them in a positive light, focus on what they're doing right. And then for sure, you can still speak to the things that like where they can improve, where they can apply certain strategies to make their life better or whatever you're helping them with. But if you lead with the positive, it's way more highly shareable. So a few examples of really shareable quizzes here, quiz results. Love language quiz, like so shareable. And I wanted to share this too, because it's an example of like quality over quantity when it comes to sharing. So you are probably not going to like share your love language all over your Instagram feed, but you'll definitely send it to your loved ones, right? You'll get them to take it, and maybe you'll like start a book club and read the love languages. Who knows, right? But you will share it with the people who it's going to be relevant for. And so it's the same with your quiz. Like if you are a golf ball manufacturer and you have a quiz that's like, find your perfect golf ball, take the quiz, you're just going to share that with your golf buddies, right? You're not going to necessarily share it with the world. So in your call to action, and love language quiz doesn't do a very good job of this, but you can have a clear call to action at different points in your quiz results, encouraging people, share this with your golf friends, share this with the people you care about, share this with whoever it's going to be relevant to, and then you have your sharing icons. And that is often way more effective than like, share this with the entire world, because that can be a big ask. There's a little screenshot here too of just an example of shareable content that presents the quiz taker in a positive light. So this is from one of my students, Helen Menchie, and she just has this like sweet little Cosmo quiz within her quiz that feels super shareable. So if you have little spots like that in your quiz, then you can have the call to action to share that intelligently placed under those places where you've just made this person feel good about themselves. They want to share that with the world. So this Tracy asked, the CTA may come at the end of the quiz. Yes. So you can have your sharing CTAs, and then we'll talk more about like what your main CTA will be. If you have the sharing one, ideally you can set it up so that it doesn't take them away from the page completely. They can just like share and come back to it and keep going. So another key for results is focusing on how you want your quiz takers to feel, because feelings are what make you memorable. Feelings are what create connection. And often in business, we're like, feelings, that has no role to play here, but it always does. And I think just an example of this, Nicole Hill of Horizon Found does this so well in her quiz results when she's speaking to photographers. She's speaking to their purpose, their high standards, their work ethic. She is lifting them up, ideally, so that they can feel good about themselves. And then what happens in the mind is that we then associate those good feelings with the person who gave them to us, who helped us to remind ourselves that, like, yeah, I do work really hard. I'm awesome. And that positive association, that connection then occurs, and you can then build on that. What you don't want is a neutral reaction where it's just like fluff, eyes glaze over, right? You really want to, as much as possible, get into the feels of what your quiz taker is experiencing. So I think this is in the worksheet. Like, what positive attributes can you highlight for your audience in their quiz results? And then adhering to this above and beyond principle of generosity not only activates the law of reciprocity, but it helps you establish and highlight your expertise, the things that make your brand different, right there in the results. And so often the quiz that you create is really commonly, especially if you're running traffic to it, paid traffic, it might be the first touch point someone ever has with you and your brand. It might be the first impression they experience. So how can you make that first impression count? Really by going above and beyond. And I've shown you a few examples of that, but we're running out of time. Oh my gosh. So let's talk about questions. And if you have other results questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A. But for now, how do you ask really powerful questions? In a perfect world, your questions do more than one thing. So they help you learn about your audience. They're interesting and entertaining for your quiz taker. And they help you segment people and make sure they get the right results. And also that if you want to segment people based on how they answer a specific question, you ask that in a clear way where, it's still interesting for them as the quiz taker. And all questions are not created equal. All questions are not necessarily interesting. So often you see quizzes online and they're like really black and white, yes or no questions, or agree or disagree questions. And they're so binary that they're just not engaging. Like, it's not fun. It's not that interesting. It doesn't show you like any brand personality, and it's just boring, and you can do so much better. So avoid doing that if you can. Even like on the scale of 1 to 10, where do you stand? Even a question like that can be a great question. If you just add a little bit of context and info, like, why are they 1 to 3? Why are they a 10? And that makes the user experience so much more fun. Using GIFs and emojis and images can also make your questions better, more engaging, easier to answer, and using your questions to explore the dream state, the ideal, the future that your quiz taker really wants, and helping them like tap into those desires, that can be really powerful too. I'm going to show you some examples. Just another little reminder and prompt that there's a worksheet, and it is linked in the chat, but you can also access it at chantizak.com/workit. So if you didn't hear that in the beginning, it's there for you. And yeah, you can play around with really what questions would you love to ask your audience, because you can use your questions as a way to learn more about who's coming into your world at scale. And I don't know about you guys, but to me, that's so exciting. That makes me so curious. And there are a million things I would love to ask people. So really brainstorm, what are those things? If you knew the answer to X, how could that change the game for you? How could it improve your messaging, your content, your offers, all of it? So these are just a few example questions. I won't even read them out loud because they're there for you. So just to give you a sense of like what I mean, what's a fun, engaging question? How do you activate a dream state? And these are just little kind of template questions. You can feel free to like steal them, tweak them so they fit your business and your quiz, and yeah, run with it. So let's talk about what happens after the quiz, this journey from subscriber to sale. And this is kind of an extension of the question exercise, but backwards, because now you're going to get into the mindset of what questions your audience still has for you. So I use the word funnel because I want to speak the language that everybody speaks. But I really think of funnels as journeys. And I want to just touch on like, what is the difference? And mostly it's like a mindset thing. So with a journey, it's really clear you are the leader. You're not the hero. And every person embarking on the journey is coming from a different starting point and will move at different paces. And your job as the leader, as the guide, is to understand and acknowledge what those are. So for me, the metaphor, the visual that comes to mind is like, I'm a guide and taking people up to Machu Picchu or Mount Everest. And I've walked this path so many freaking times. I know every nook and cranny, right? But I've got like Phil flying in from Philadelphia who has never hiked a day in his life. And I've got Maggie from Maryland. Sorry, I'm like just coming up with these on the fly, who's like an expert hiker and she's just a total go-getter, and any other assortment of people at totally different stages who, yes, I can help all of them get to the top, but I'm going to need to use different strategies and also acknowledge that they're all at different places. So that's the metaphor when you go to create your journey that happens after someone takes your quiz and joins your email list. Journeys aren't that complicated. They're a lot less complicated than like we often make funnels out to be. And there's a consensual yes from those who are willing to take the journey. There's the desired destination and there are the steps required to get there. And that's it. So your quiz is the starting point, and it will help you understand and determine which direction your hero takes to move forward. From there, you don't go straight to the top of Everest, right? You take it slow, you give people a chance to get to know their guide, you show them the route forward, you paint a picture of what's in store for them if they keep going, and you build that relationship step by step. So if you're here and you're like, what? I thought I would just create a quiz and people would like immediately buy my $3,000 course right from my quiz result. Sure, maybe they will, but most of the time they won't. So that's where the journey comes in. Like, sure, you're going to have people who are just looking for a solution. They want it right away. You can give them that as an option, but most people need a lot more trust building and nurturing, and they need more belief, which we're going to talk about, in order to actually move forward and make a purchase. E-commerce is a little different because often e-commerce quizzes, it's like, find your perfect foundation color. And then of course, like they're going to buy the foundation, but if you're here and you're like a course creator or a coach or a service provider, you're selling high ticket, or you're in like a more complex industry where the buying cycle is longer, don't necessarily expect that people are going to buy straight from your quiz. Instead, have the behind the scenes, the journey, the funnel, the emails in place and set up and established to build rapport and trust and connection. So this is just a little example of like what that can look like for, say, a welcome sequence. So a series of a few emails that really just help your audience to get used to opening your emails, to learn from you, to get a sense of what you're all about and who you are and how you can help them, to build interest, create connection, and go from there. Once you've done that, then often the next move is like, all right, so now it is time to sell the $3,000 course or whatever it is, and you move into that sales sequence. And that can look so many different ways. And we could have a whole training masterclass just on that alone, right? But this is like just a quick little, sorry, it's so blurry, example of what that might look like in your funnel map, in your journey map. The key to post-quiz conversions, though, is ongoing conversations. So you want to be building your email list and simultaneously connecting with your email list, consistently showing up, actually sending emails. I know that probably sounds obvious, but it often gets missed. So make sure, like, if you embark on this quiz, the minute you launch it, even if you only got 5 subscribers, remain committed to consistently connecting with those people. Can you still hear me? Oh, weird. Okay, cool. So Tracy, I wonder if your like headphones died or something. All right. So yeah, by the time you get to seriously selling, you will have delivered so much value in the form of your quiz results and your welcome sequence. You will have learned so much about where your audience is at and what they want and what they're struggling with and how they describe their current situation and their vision for the future and all of those things. And that right there is how you increase conversions through curiosity. Because when you have the answers to those questions, when you have that deeper insight, selling is actually so easy and it feels natural. And you can connect with people in a personalized way. So the sole purpose of your sales sequence, your sales pages, and even your quiz and your welcome sequence, and honestly anything, is to shift and build beliefs. So sales are this highly subjective thing. And for someone to buy from you, even if you have the most amazing product on the planet, they need to believe that you have the most amazing product or service or offer on the planet. They need to know and believe that you have the solution they've been searching for. So I want you to think about this in the context of the journey too. And I also want you to note that I said, believe. It doesn't matter how much objective evidence you create. This is about emotion and perspective as it is about proof. So there's this little table that you'll see in the worksheet, and we're not going to have much time to like work through this right now. But if you're going to move forward and create sales sequences, and honestly, even if you don't create a quiz, but you are going to be selling in any capacity online, understanding these things will seriously help you. So understanding current belief structures, belief shifts required, and then future beliefs that support transformation. And I use this example of a student of mine who she had done this exercise before creating her quiz, because this is like research, I would say do this even before creating your quiz. And she did. And she totally overhauled her sales page, her sales emails based on what she learned here. And she's a sex coach, hence the example. And she sold like 9 of her high ticket programs in a few weeks' time, when normally she was in a cadence of just selling like 2 a month. And this is even without a quiz. It's without her lead gen changing. It's nothing else changed but implementing this understanding of belief and why people buy. And that was the result. And I've seen that in so many different businesses. When you understand the beliefs that your audience has, you can sell a lot easier. So let's talk about traffic. Yes, we are going to talk about the tool for sure. Sorry, guys. I am so long-winded. There's so much to cover. Let's quickly talk about traffic. And this is really important because the traffic and the quality of the traffic that you bring to your quiz makes a huge difference in if your quiz actually works, right? I hear from people all the time, like, oh, I created a quiz and it's not just magically attracting thousands of subscribers a month. What's going on? And I ask them, like, well, are you promoting it? Are you running ads? How much traffic does your website get? Like, what are you doing to actually bring people to the quiz? So making your journey, your quiz, a must-see attraction, right? And it's a journey. And that's like any attraction. Mount Everest didn't become famous without people talking about it and movies being made about it. And I know I'm running with this Everest example, but bear with me. So really important. And an idea I've been playing with a lot lately is, what if you worked just as hard marketing what you've created as you did creating it? What would happen, right? So attraction strategy number 1, converting social followers into subscribers. This is huge. You know, maybe you don't have a massive social following, but even if you just have a few followers on social media, ideally, if you can get those people onto your email list and connect with them there instead, you will be doing really well, because your visibility on social media, as you know, is just so minimal in comparison to, you know, the average open rate. Let's just say 25%. That's a lot higher than 2% of your social media followers seeing your content and also having like a million distractions and an entire feed that they can just keep scrolling. Like, there's a different intent in the inbox, right? So bringing people from social to your email list is key. And Tori Dunlap does this beautifully. So she has this quiz. It's, I forget what the quiz is called. It's like might be finding out your money personality. Anyhow, and there's a whole episode of this story on Jay Klaus's Creative Companion podcast. So like, check it out if you want to hear more from her, because it's really fascinating what she's doing. But she's big on TikTok, and she had this one video that, like, the video got 1 million views, so it was super viral, right? But from that video, she got 100,000 email subscribers, all because she said in her caption, go take the free quiz linked in my bio for a step-by-step guide. So simple, right? Now, maybe you don't have 1 million video views, and that's okay. Maybe you have 1,000 video views and 10 or 100 of those people go to your bio and join your email list. That's still freaking amazing. So making sure you have that intention when you have a quiz, using it as a tool to consistently take people from the feed to the inbox is key. Yeah, I know. It's like such a badass story. Attraction strategy number 2, if you have a validated offer, investing in paid ads. So I have that caveat here that you have a validated offer, because that way, at least you have some level of certainty that, like, if I attract the right people that are fit for this offer, a certain percentage of them will convert. So it's a numbers game, right? And when you approach ads with that mindset, they're a lot less scary. If you don't have a validated offer and you're just like running straight to paid ads, that can be a little bit of a trickier beast. But if you do, using your quiz to drive traffic with paid ads is often a lot more affordable than other things. So, example, and I'm in like a very saturated niche with a high level of sophistication. So, B2B, online business, right? If anyone else is in this niche, you probably know. And so ad costs have kind of gone a little wacky the last year and a half. And so I was running paid traffic just last month to a training that I have and a quiz that I have. And the quiz ads were like a few bucks. The training ads, it was like $17, $18 per lead. Now, what I do is I have the quiz, and I didn't actually do this the last launch, hence like I had to put quite a bit of ad spend toward the training ads. But what I would typically do, and what I do with clients and what I teach my students, is if you're a course creator and you have a funnel where, say, you've got like a webinar or challenge or some kind of conversion event, then you have your quiz. And at the end of that quiz, especially a launch quiz, you have an invitation like, okay, you want to learn more, you want to go deeper, you want to do this, and this, sign up for this webinar and let's do it. And then suddenly you've spent $2 on a quiz lead that then a certain percentage become a webinar lead, and it works so well. So this is a very blurry screenshot. I apologize, but I've just had so many clients and students share stories like these where they're like, holy F, I launched this quiz, my ads are converting like crazy. And in this case, she had 341 leads in like a day, more than double her existing email list. So investing in paid ads. And then attraction strategy number 3 is like thrifting your audience through guesting on podcasts and doing email lists, not email list swaps as in like, here's my email list, give me yours, but like email list takeovers, Instagram takeovers, things like that, where you can get in front of someone else's audience and then say like, hey, you want to learn more from me? Go take my quiz. Super easy. Very easy compared to like, hey, you want to learn more from me? Go sign up for my 90-minute free training. Like, it gives you a nice little in between. So I've done this. I built my email list to like 10,000 people before I even ran ads. And I did that mostly through this strategy of getting on podcasts, telling people at the end, go take my quiz, doing guest blog posts, stuff like that, all for free. And so like Chris found me that way, right? So simple. And I have my own podcast now, but I didn't have my own podcast. I was just pitching other people's podcasts. And yeah, always sending people to my quiz. So thrift your audience. Okay, that ended really abruptly and it's very green. But that's it, you guys.
Can we get a round of applause? That was so awesome. I'm sitting back just taking so many notes here because this was fantastic. Oh, is this a new Zoom feature? I've never
I
seen
love
these claps
it.
come through before.
Yay.
Keep them
Oh my
coming.
God.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for that. Wow, learned a lot. Yeah, that one piece that I was commenting on about like putting that in your social bio is so much more compelling than like the number of people I've come across. It just says like, like the finger emoji, book a call here. It's like, that's so much. Even if you just put a quiz and at the end of the quiz, there's the option, or in the email follow-up, an option to book a call after they feel like you understand them. Like I imagine the click-through would be so much higher.
Yeah, totally.
Super cool. Okay. Thank you. That was great. You guys have been awesome hanging with us, and almost nobody's dropped off, which is so cool because this is such a valuable conversation. I do want to get to a bunch of these questions. I know you guys are also asking in terms of what tool we have dropping on AppSumo. So we have a tool for Black Friday exclusively for AppSumo Plus members. It's called Smart Quiz Builder. That is an awesome tool for building this stuff out exactly like we went through. So you'll be able to make your quizzes, make your quiz funnels, integrate that with like all of your marketing tools as well. Super cool tool. I believe it's dropping on Monday. So you guys will be able to check that out. Again, it's exclusively for Plus members. So you guys are in luck there. That answers one of the questions. Now we got some other great ones on here. Okay, so Jay is asking, what is the ideal CTA at the end of a quiz?
Yeah, great question. It totally depends. It depends on your business, on your goals for the quiz, and on what you've kind of got going on. So like I said in that example, if you're, say, a course creator and you use your quiz as a top of funnel launch asset, then your CTA, you'd probably want that to go to like whatever the next step in the funnel is. So like a webinar or a challenge, something like that. Let's say you're a service provider and your goal is just to get more one-on-one clients, or you're a coach or something. You could totally have the CTA to like book a call. You could. And if you do, I recommend you like demystify what happens on that call and like take the fear out of it, because people are often scared of booking calls, especially the introverts among us. So you could do that, or you could have like apply to work with me and send them to a more detailed form. If you're in e-commerce and you're doing an e-commerce quiz, then the call to action would be like, check out the shop, or here's your like personalized product recommendations, go buy them. So totally depends. I also have seen successful calls to action where it is like a micro commitment, a small purchase, like a tripwire type thing, where it's like, okay, $27, get this solution that's super relevant based on your quiz result. And that can work too.
Awesome. This is another question that's come up in a variety of ways is, what is the ideal number of questions, or like the range of questions where like, this is probably too little for anybody to get value, and then if you do this much, you're going to get too much drop off by the end?
Yeah, so definitely trying to keep it under 10 questions is ideal. We just statistically will start to see higher drop off when there's more than 10 questions. And then the minimum number of questions is probably like 3. If you take a quiz and there's only 3 questions and you get a result and it's like, this is exactly who you are, like you're probably going to know that, like, come on. So
yeah, you don't know enough about me to be able to tell me that. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. I do want to note though, because I have seen a few questions coming through around like branching logic and conditional logic and stuff like that. So you can have your quiz set up so that the user end is like 10 questions. But behind this, you might have 50 questions, and you're determining who gets what questions by branching people off into different sort of, why is chains of custody the metaphor that's coming to mind?
I don't know, but
different pathways, right? And that's, yeah, how you would use branching logic, where if it makes sense, it's kind of a little bit complicated. And for most people, you don't need to use it, but in some cases it makes sense.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. How long does it typically take you to make a high converting quiz from thought to finish?
This is a great question too. I tell people, if you're doing this yourself and you've got like a lot of other stuff going on, like we all do, but you can dedicate like 3 to 5 hours a week. And let's say like your quiz funnel. So in that, I would include like your copy used to promote it, your emails that come after the quiz. So if you're doing all of those things and the quiz, I say give yourself a quarter, like 3 months, and have some time set aside every week, a few hours to work on it. And the reason I give people that recommendation is because it is a big project. There's a lot of moving pieces. I often will like book day rates with people and I can create a quiz in a day. And it's no problem for me, but I've done it so many times. Yeah. So yes, like you can do it faster, but if you want just a sustainable pace, that's often a good pace. And if you're more of like a get it done kind of person, then probably give yourself like at least 2 to 3 full days to do it.
Yeah, that's great. No, I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of like advising like, yeah, you can do this in a weekend. And it's like, sure, you can, but like if you really want to dedicate yourself to this and you have, I imagine like you're a bit further along where you understand your business a bit more, where you're trying, like, you know who your customer is and you have kind of the elements to work out for each of those, then really being able to set aside time to set it up right, as opposed to just rushing it out the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Let's see. Have you done quizzes, or what would you recommend for local companies that are using them? This one is specifically a small local RV rental business.
Oh, that's fun. I have never done a quiz for a local business, but like I said, I live in a tiny community of 200 people. And so I don't have a very big like local market, or yeah, have I? I'm trying to think back. Like, I don't think I have. But if I were to create a quiz for a local business, I would use probably the exact same framework and principles that we just discussed. And the big difference would be, where is the traffic coming from? So you would want to make sure that you are probably like, well, you could do it organically, but if you were running ads, like making sure you're running ads in your local area and making it clear that like, this is the quiz for people in this local area, and maybe using like Google AdWords to make sure that comes up. But I could see it working well, because if someone's searching like RV rental Columbus, Ohio, and a quiz comes up that's like, I'm trying to think of an RV quiz. Like, what's your perfect RV rental setup package? Something like that. I could see going really well. I want to rent an RV this summer to go to a big festival. So I would totally take it.
Yeah, you want to tell people about what you have coming delivered to your place right now?
Oh, I'm getting a bus delivered today, a school bus.
So cool.
Yeah, I bought an old school bus, and it's already like gutted, and it has a wood stove in it, and it has like a little kitchen counter sink. So we're going to renovate it, and it's going to be a pretty awesome space.
That's great. That's so cool. One of the questions is, do any of the questions ever have like written elements, or is it all like multiple choice selection based?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. For the most part, and I don't know about the quiz builder that you guys have coming for Black Friday. Most quiz hosting platforms don't have the option to do a written answer.
Got it.
Some of them do. Like if you're doing through like Typeform, you can do it. But most of them don't. And when they do, it can be really nice. because you then can capture some like actual voice of customer, but expect that you'll have higher drop off. The minute someone has to actually like really work and write, and writing's hard for a lot of people, or you'll have people just filling in like random keyboard scribbles. But you would probably get some really good data and information.
Well, especially if someone's doing it on mobile and they're just like clicking through on one finger, and then you're asking them to type, and it's like, if I have to use another hand, I'm out. Okay, fair enough.
Exactly.
Do you have preferences on like single choice versus multi-choice or drop down, or is it just like you should kind of mix and match to keep it interesting?
Yeah, for the most part, like multiple choice, just like A, B, C, or D.
Awesome.
Keep it simple.
Someone wants to know if you have any ideas for building a list of beta users for a SaaS or software company. Any idea of quizzes for this? I don't know if that's specific enough, but I don't maybe you have some answers there.
Beta users for a SaaS. Yeah, like I would need to know what's it all about, right? But like always when coming up with that big idea is like reverse engineer. Like, what is the big promise? What is the solution that you provide through the software as a service or through whatever you're offering? And then how can you like pull that in to the quiz topic and give people like a little taste of that solution? So actually, like let's say like your quiz hosting service. What are the questions people have when they go to sign up for a quiz hosting software? Like what type of quiz should I create? What quiz strategy will work best for me? Like stuff like that.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So this is one we were talking about earlier. What is the major difference between how you create and use quiz funnels and Ryan Levesque's Ask method?
Yeah. So different. I would say his style is way more like direct response. He often I encourage people to use video in their results if they're game. We didn't talk about that, but totally use video. But also I encourage people to have like written copy on their results and various sections, which we talked about some of them, that all serve a purpose, simply because not everyone's going to watch your video, right? Like we need to cater to different learning styles. And then his approach is often a lot more like, take the quiz, get the result, buy my thing.
Yeah. And
from my experience, I've seen that because a quiz is there's such a low level of commitment required for someone to spend 50 seconds and take a quiz. Like they're most of the time not going to be ready to buy from you, even if you give them like the most stellar, incredible results page they've ever seen, especially if it's like anything over that like $50 mark. So my approach is to like, sure, you can get a few sales off the top, but for the most part, like play the long game and don't discount what happens after someone becomes a subscriber and you build that journey. And I mean, I've seen it so much in my own business and with my clients that often a buying cycle is a lot longer than we want it to be. So just really like speaking to that and leading with empathy and leading with emotion and feeling, and also that like positive experience. How do you want people to feel when they get that quiz result? That's kind of my jam. And I'm sure we have like intersections there, but yeah.
Awesome. No, I think that's because I was telling you, I was just going through Ryan's book like a week or two ago, and his is very much like, the first point of contact is like, what's the number one obstacle or challenge you're dealing with right now? And it's just very kind of like analytical, like you said, straightforward. And it's also asking for like a long written response as well. And it's like, yeah, if you can gather that, that's very helpful for your business. But at the same time, like the way you describe it, it is a lot more fun and engaging and shareable and generous, which is one of the points that you made. It's like you're giving them something as opposed to just like asking them for information for you, or at least like in the way you're doing it, it's like you're giving and getting, and there's this trade-off where you're getting information about them, you can segment them in bucket, but they're getting something valuable as well, and you're kind of building and nurturing that relationship.
Yeah, totally. I don't want people to know how beneficial the quiz is for me.
Yeah.
I just want them to feel like, whoa, this is like all for me. God.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, and it's cool too, the way that you describe it, because I think a lot of people will either go directly for the sale, or they'll do like a lot of content and it's just like this kind of like goodwill based building up a list, but then there's not really a strategy, even if they have something to sell on the back end. And this is very much kind of like this bridge from a lead to taking them through and nurturing them and engaging and learning more and taking them through this process that results in the sale. And there's the journey to it, as opposed to either like, hey, buy right now, or like, I'll just nurture you forever without ever kind of like building a business off of this.
Yeah, well, and that's where like the ecosystem metaphor really comes in too, because it's like, it's not like you just like bring them in, chew them up, and spit them out. It's like, no, like even if a seed buys from you and grows into a massive sunflower, and then fall comes and like they reap the rewards from whatever they experienced working with you, and then they're turned into compost and it remains in the system, and they tell all their friends and spread the word and spread, like, I could go on a tangent about this whole metaphor, but I'll stop.
No, that's great. Yeah, no, totally. The next question I'm seeing is like, how would this work for high ticket services? Like health coaching is one of the ones that's in here, in terms of not just the quiz itself, but then the back end. Like it seems like, and you touched on this as well, there's a lot of different kind of ways that you could structure that, where it's like they take the quiz and then they're in an email. Then do you push them to a call there? Do you do a webinar from there? Like any recommendations on that for like a coaching program?
Yeah, totally. So often that like higher ticket coaching, especially with more intimate subject matter, like people's health or their relationships, stuff like that, there's often like this longer trust building period. Mm-hmm. So, and also showing up and sharing how you're different and sharing some like stories and proof that what you do gets results, because these like the health industry, there's just so much information. There's so much. So you can use the quiz to like, number one, differentiate yourself, speak to a very specific audience of who you help and how you help them, and how you do it differently. And then use the quiz as that starting point. Like maybe some people will be ready to get on a call with you right out the gate and they'll just love you and go for it. But keep in mind that for the most part, they won't. And so the belief bridge is even more critical in a case like this. What the heck does someone need to believe in order to drop like 25 grand on like the most high touch, amazing one-on-one package you offer? What needs to happen for them to be open to that? And that you get the answer to that, and then you work backwards and you communicate what those answers are. And you're not explicitly saying like, work with me for this X amount, but you are like shifting some of those beliefs before they even get on a call with you. Yeah. But all the while you can still be offering like, get on a call with me. So it can be both. Like you can speed the process up, but you can also acknowledge that the buying cycle might be longer for something high ticket and high touch like health coaching. Yeah.
Have you noticed that in terms of what you were saying, in terms of like more intimate style products or services with more business style that like it requires more of that trust, or is it just a different way of building that trust? If that question even makes sense.
Do you mean like the intimate subject matter, or like the really
If you're doing like
personal?
health coaching or relationship coaching, that might require a longer buying cycle or more like nurturing or trust building than if you're like, hey, I'll do your email marketing and I can make you $25,000 in the next 90 days. Like it feels like that could be a bit more of like a quicker, like either I believe you can do it or I don't, versus like, I don't even know if I'm ready for this type of like personal coaching. And I don't know if I trust you. Like, I don't know. I'm curious your thoughts there.
Yes. Yeah, totally. I think it's way easier to sell like in less personal spheres. Like it's really easy for me to sell a quiz to a business owner who cares about lead generation and like can see the numbers and the stats. It's harder to sell like I'm the person to help you avoid getting a divorce 3 months from now.
Yeah.
Way harder. So yeah, definitely building that trust and like being really committed to the process and really understanding what's going on in the heads of your audience and understanding the difference between like painkillers and vitamins. And I learned this from Scott Olford. He talks about this a lot. But like talking about what is the solution, the thing that's going to solve the pain right now, versus, of course, we all know we should be taking vitamins for our long-term health, but like, who does it? So having that understanding of how your offer is a painkiller and presenting it in that way, even though behind the scenes you might be like, actually, it's actually a vitamin, but it, like, also can function as a painkiller. If that metaphor makes any sense.
No, that's great. And I think that's a great one to wrap it up. I really appreciate you being so generous with your time, sticking on for almost twice as long as we had this originally booked for. So thank you so much. If we can get another round of applause for how awesome this was. And if you guys had any key takeaways, I know some people were saying, can't believe how many notes I have from this masterclass. I am in the same boat there. And a couple wrap up details for everybody before we sign off. So again, the recording for this is going to be posted in the Sauce. Again, the Sauce is the community that we have for AppSumo Plus members. If you are not already in the Sauce, Katie is going to be posting a link there where you can get signed up for that. What else do I need to remind you of? There's going to be a 10-second survey for you. Once we close out of Zoom, it'll automatically pop up. Mean the world to us. If you could guys could just go fill that out. I think it's one question on there for you. Would be super helpful. And that is all I got. You guys heard about the tool for Black Friday. I think that's dropping on Monday, Smart Quiz Builder. So keep an eye out for it. And again, Chanti, thank you so much. Any last words from you before we sign off?
Thank you guys. This was super fun. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you for, I'm so amazed that so many people have stuck around. And
where can people find you? If people are asking about your rates, where can people connect with you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, I think Katie is hooking it up in chat.
Awesome.
So yeah, you can find me chantizak.com and take my quiz. I have a little free course on there. You can find me on Instagram and yeah, all the usual places.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and giving everybody this information. Super cool. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for showing up, sticking around with us, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, y'all. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.